Hey folks, it's Liam here, Motor Yacht Unbridled. Just got a beautiful opportunity to do an interview with some exciting people. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we can just start off into the questions you have and how we contacted each other?
Sure. My name is Akshaya. I'm an international student from India. I'm doing my master's in Grenoble, France. My master's is fashion design and luxury management. And for one of our modules, we are supposed to choose an industry and then delve into the macro analysis part of it. So my choice, and because my interest is to work later on in the yachting industry, is the yachting industry. And as part of this research, I contacted Ria, who put us in touch with you. We had a fun conversation with her, and then she thought, because we're focusing on sustainability and emerging trends in yachting, she thought you'd be a great person for us to speak to, and that's how we connected.
Yeah.
Excellent,
I'm
excellent.
Josette. I'm in the same program as Akshay, and we're working on this module and the assignment together. And yeah, I'm also interested in the yachting industry, particularly with respect to the marketing side of it. And we're both very excited to see what you have to share with us today. Thank
Okay.
you.
Well, I'm a captain of Motor Yacht Unbridled, and Motor Yacht Unbridled's a charter yacht. So we deal with high net worth individuals, and we travel quite a lot. So right now the yacht's in Panama, and we're going to Alaska for the summer. So one thing I will say as an undertone is sustainability is probably one of the most important trends in yachting. People are looking for vessels that have a supporting crew, a supporting platform that does research locally and supports local communities and sustainability, and also the equipment we use on board. So I think it's a good match. Ray has found us together. So do you want to go forth and ask the questions and we'll see where it rolls?
Sure. The first question would be a bit about yourself. Like you've been a super yacht captain for over 25 years now. Especially for Unbridled, you've taken over in 2019.
Yeah, I just started with Unbridled. I was 2023 with Motor Yacht Unbridled as a charter yacht. Prior to that, I kind of worked 5 years on the yachts I work with, and they're usually expedition based. So we go to pretty much remote parts of the world, and it's really interesting for me working with high net worth individuals when they go to those parts of the world to immerse them in the local communities and the experiences they get. But for me, it's the concern I have about the impact we make. So wherever we go, we do make an impact. And I have to make sure it's a positive impact?
Yeah.
So
So then
25
how
years
has
in yachting all over the world, yeah.
got it? How has your role evolved over the years, you think, and what aspects of it do you enjoy the most?
Opportunities like this, I must be honest. I mean,
Mm.
meeting new people and traveling to new places is why I got into yachting. So it's an exciting opportunity to see a different culture, to broaden my horizons. And even at 45, I still have a passion for it. I've got two beautiful children, aged 13 and 15, and to show them what I do, to show them different parts of the world and to travel with my wife, that's kind of my passion still. And that's why I do it. That's why I do it.
Given your experience, your long-standing experience in the industry, have you noticed any significant changes in consumer preferences or their expectations, um, like amongst your guests, especially among the millennial charterers or Henrys? Like, for instance, increases in shorter charters or long-term leases. And in your opinion, what drive these choices?
To answer the first question, I've seen a lot of changes. Yes, it traditionally used to be a 7 day charter in either remote area or a common area like the south of France and the Med. And those 7 day charters were basically get on board, go to traditional restaurants, go to the same style of restaurants that are quite famous and all that. And then, so for now though, there's no real timeline that they've set. It can be anything from 3 to 5 days all the way to 1 month. Unbridled as an expedition boat does those variety of things. We also have 1 day charters where people want to charter the boat for their company to do special events on board for up to 100, 200 people, where we have to get special permits and so forth. So I think that because there's so many yachts that are now accessible, people are seeing them as what they truly are, which is a tool to do very unique things. So they're the trends I've seen, in terms of time frame. But the other trends I've seen in terms of the authentic approach that people want to have with the communities they kind of visit, if that makes any sense. Like when they go to Greece, they don't want to just go to the best hotel in Greece. They kind of like going up into the hills a bit more and seeing a goat farmer and meeting his family and trying to, maybe eat there or eat on top of a hill or eat in a vineyard or go to more of a private beach and have those intimate relationships with nature and with the local culture. For us, it's harder and harder to find these intimate environments and that privacy, but that's what yachting offers. It offers that opportunity to get to the middle of nowhere.
Got it. Then our next question would be in conversation with Ria and like some other industry experts as well. Something that came up was the exploration trend, where it's not just visiting places, it's also exploring what has been less traveled and all that. She did mention like an exploration traveled in Alaska, like an itinerary. So with that in mind, with those gaining popularity, do you see an increase in demand for unconventional destinations like that? And how does Unbridled as a yacht itself, how do you guys cater to that?
First, I'd like to say these are wonderful questions. Who have done an amazing job calibrating these questions. They really are. I've had a lot of questions in my career doing charter shows and with brokers, and I think these are some of the best. So I'm really excited to see the end product of your research. They are. It's over the years, we're looking for more and more. There's always been a fleet of yachts that do expedition cruising, but it's never been really part of a charter market. It's more likely been an owner's private yacht that he's gone to the South Pacific and the middle, different areas in the world, or the Middle East, or the Red Sea, or Seychelles, or all these places. That's always been open to the private sector in yachting. But over the last 5 to 10 years, there's vessels that are specifically now built and operated with support vessels to really, identify these unique locations and take the yacht there on a consistent basis. So that's what's opening up these opportunities. Is owners and companies are now seeing the potential of these remote experiences from a commercial aspect, which is from chartering the yachts. These yachts charter from 250,000 up to $1 million a week. And there's yachts now have certain routes that Mediterranean, Caribbean, Northeast to Greenland, Iceland, Alaska. And there's more and more yachts every year coming into operating as almost like a business. And one of the yachts, Motor Yacht Loon, did a fantastic job with social media and making that visual for everyone to see how to create a business platform with a yacht. So without a doubt, for Motor Yacht Unbridled, we're in Panama, we go to Costa Rica, we've got a charter in Costa Rica, then we go up to Mexico, the Sea of Cortez there, then we go to California, and then we go all the way up to Alaska. So that's our current route, and we have charters all along the way.
So, what recent trends or innovations in yacht design, technology, or services, things like sustainability or the explorer trend that we see, even talks about mental health, which of these innovations have caught your attention recently?
For me, the mental health one really has, because I've seen it comes down from a management perspective where I've seen a lot of turnover of crew or crew that come to the vessel and they tell me the stories that they're experiencing in from the way they were treated. And for me, my job is to create a sustainable environment where on board, as a crew, we have to create a comfort for the guests. The comfort for the guests is of paramount importance. So if you have people with poor mental health or poor physical health, the guests become aware of it and they don't get the most out of the charter. So from a management and a business perspective and a concern for the crew, the mental health has really taken off in the last probably 5 years. Once again, our sector's really changed. And with the increase in social media and digital marketing, people are getting more and more aware of how difficult the industry is, because it sounds all beautiful. Like you two are probably going, oh, what a wonderful life, and going to the middle of nowhere and being with crew, and it is wonderful. But the stresses of getting a result for someone who's a CEO of a $200 billion company, and when he wakes up, his tea has to be perfect. And if his tea's not perfect, he comes to me and says, Captain, I'm not happy with the stewardess. You need to get rid of the stewardess. And I'm like, it's just a cup of tea. But that's the level we're at. So we have to understand how he wants his tea to prepare for it. So when he gets on board his tea, he gets the tea the way he wants. So from a mental health perspective, and there's a lot of females that drive that charge, and a lot of wonderful platforms that drive that charge. And men are starting to get into that space a bit more. So females have been great, instrumental in leading the charge and creating the platforms. But unfortunately, men have been typical men and being a little bit stubborn and thinking we can solve the issues ourselves, which we can't, not inside. We have to learn to share it. We have to learn to talk about it and be vulnerable. So it's something that I'm really passionate about now, and working with Gary Napier and the Gap counselors in Mallorca. And that's a great platform that we try and give crew the tools they need to get the help they can to keep building their mental strength to get through these seasons and challenges. So the mental health's a huge one in the industry right now. And then in terms of other trends, I really see the way we use water and water bottles is quite important for the guests. So we don't have plastic water bottles on board. That's been a big thing. And we just don't have it. It's a very unique thing. We don't have it. We have aluminum bottles that are made from recycling. And even when guests ask, we have to explain to them the benefit of it. And we're getting more and more awards in the industry, so people recognize the work that crew does to try and ensure that when we go to a location, we're doing everything we can in our power to protect that location and support that area.
To just add on to the same question, you've been very vocal about the mental health. I've seen some podcasts with you, but also something that I feel like you're passionate about is the marine ecosystem and sustainability aspect of it. Would you want to touch upon some more on that?
Yeah, it's my home. I mean, it's my two loves, my wife and my ocean, and they're very important for me, both of them, and you have to look after both of them. But the oceans, I don't know, from a young child, I grew up in Australia on the East Coast, and I was fortunate enough to see where on the East Coast of Australia, where I was from, the two currents met, the North Current and the South Current. So at certain times of the year, I'd see different species of fish. And I'd really thought that was just the most, and I'm passionate about it, so I get a bit emotional. Well, it was amazing that the way the temperature of the world works and the currents work, I'd see tropical fish for 4 or 5 months, and then I'd see southern pelagic species of fish. And I'm like, this world is really amazing. And then ever since then, as a young child of 14, I'm still blown away by how powerful the ocean and how powerful nature is. And how strong and resilient it is. And after fires, that things grow back. And after terrible things that happen on land, the ocean, the environment always comes back. And I keep thinking, why don't we support it on the front end? Why don't we work towards awareness? Why don't we reduce rubbish? Why don't we try and grow back some of the reef systems and work in eliminating invasive species? So it's something that everyone is kind of aware of that we need to, but people don't know how to. And that's where I want to try and come in, is support the platforms that improve the awareness, but also improve the sustainability and the research. So Seakeepers is a wonderful organization that I'm a part of, and we're one of the founding vessels. And we do a lot of research on board for seakeepers by tracking the depth of the water and different factors. Plus, also we support them when they need to do research in a certain area. So, for example, in Costa Rica, we have a window of opportunity where the vessel is in the Gulf of Gafito, Bahia de Golfito, the Gulf of Gafito. And we're there for like 2 weeks, and we're waiting for a charter. So in that 2 weeks, we're going to have local researchers on board from Costa Rica, the Mission de Tiburon, which is the mission of sharks, plus also researchers from Florida up, and they're going to come on board. They work with the crew. We do some shark tagging. We do some mangrove cleaning. And for us, it's a little bit. It's not much, but it means the world to the crew to be a part of it. It means the world, for these organizations that don't have access to it. And they don't have boats, they don't have tenders, and they don't have crew to help them catch sharks and clean mangroves. So we come in and we give that access, we give that help we can to the local community,
Mhm.
And our guests see it because our guests ask, what do we do from an environmental perspective? And we show them the videos that the week before you came, we cleaned that mangrove that you're now kayaking in. And that's a powerful connection, if that makes sense.
Post-pandemic, we've seen some of these trends about the chartering gaining major attention than the sale of yachts. And we can also see that millennials who have the disposable income right now to afford charters. So what other trends in terms of consumer behavior have you observed post-pandemic? This is.
Post-pandemic consumer behavior, we're seeing a lot of support vessels on the big scale of things. So a lot of these yachts will actually have a yacht, 12 guests on the smaller scale yachts up to 100, 150 meters. And above that, we have the cruise ships, which are getting smaller and smaller. So the cruise ships are getting smaller, the smaller yachts are getting bigger. Everyone's starting to understand that we can access to these areas. So what they're getting is support vessels. Support vessels over the last decade have been custom made to hold helicopters, tenders, additional crews, spa services, and also go ahead and prepare for these, prepare for even as simple as a beach setup for a guest. So a beach setup for a guest is simple. Table, chairs, a tent, and we get the beach ready. It's not simple. It's about 3 to 4 hours of preparation and weeks of permitting a lot of times. So we get permission from the locals, we get a remote beach, we inspect the beach, we have to return it to the same state. On the day of the event, we have to have a lot of people coming ashore to prepare for it. So the food's ready, the chef's ready. And they may only be ashore for 1 hour, but it's the support that we have to provide now has increased. So that's why we have these support yachts. So the crew on board the yacht work with a high net worth individual, and then the support vessel provides all the additional services that help support that vessel. That's one big one. The other side of thing is shoreside companies that go ahead before the yacht gets to a region and prepares the charter. So people they'll go a week before, months before, they'll make sure they have a helicopter, they've checked the helicopter's at a certain standard that when the guests arrive, the helicopter's got the water they prefer, it's clean, it's detailed. The goal is to minimize situations for the clients. And everyone now is investing more and more money to minimize any situations that occur. So when the client goes to the beach, he doesn't see rubbish everywhere, or he or she or they don't see rubbish everywhere. And you mentioned more people with more disposable income and different generation gaps. They're demanding more. So a 60-year-old, for example, they seem to be quite complacent in what they're expecting, and they're quite happy because they've seen things develop over the years, and they're quite, I'm not saying humble in any way, shape, or form, but they're quite content at their stage in their life for their kids to jump in the water and have a good time. These millennials that are coming in with billions of dollars, they're not. They're high adrenaline. They're fast. They want 4 or 5 anchorages a day. They want to go wake up, go dive, go fishing and catch a marlin, and all of a sudden go kite surfing, and then go to the beach for the cookout, then go to a volcano for a hike in the afternoon. So all of those events take weeks and hours of planning. So that's where it becomes a little bit difficult for the yacht crew without the support systems we have ashore. So brokers are a big part of it. Shoreside support companies are a big part of it, and so forth.
So, post-pandemic, we also saw a huge rise in the number of people who did not or were not aware about yachting per se before. Now they're more aware and they want to discover. They also have money and they don't want to sit around. So, because of digitalization. So, and you are also someone that's quite active on social media. So, in your opinion, how would you say digital media has transformed the way that the yachting industry engages with a global audience?
Well, I think we have to thank, Below Decks or at least appreciate Below Decks from an exposure point of view. Because what Below Decks have done is they've given the general public access to what the yachts are. So
Mm.
irrelevant of what I think of the production and the editing, Below Decks has really created an understanding that the world all of a sudden see these yachts and they look at the toys, they look at the fun the guests are having, they look at the excitement, and they go, "That's wow, Daddy, I want to do that." Or let's, when you're speaking to your partner for your weekly holiday or your yearly holiday, that's where I want to spend Thanksgiving with my family in the Bahamas on a yacht. So that's what I think that drove the digital marketing and the digital space is from Below Decks and also the people from Below Decks getting more fame from the different activities they're doing. Where it comes down to charter yachts, because we still have this world of exclusivity where no one sees behind the curtains, because these clients come on board and they want privacy. Above everything, they want privacy. They don't want cameras. They don't want social media. They don't want anyone to know what they're doing. They want privacy. So, but we need social media and digital marketing to create the advertising to get the clients. So it's a catch-22. It's a very fine line. And that Motor Yacht Loon was a classic example. They were really heavy on digital marketing, social media, and they've had a recent incident where now that has affected the digital marketing, social media. Where Unbridled's different is we promote the yacht as a luxury brand, and then we promote the crew as, I think, lovely people, as really nice human beings who are professional in their jobs and care about things that support the brand. So that's where I've seen probably the biggest trend for yourselves. And I know it's not directly answering the question about digital marketing and social media, because I'm not an expert. I have no degrees in all that world, and you are much smarter than me in all that. And my daughter, the 13 this morning, was posting one of my stories and she made it look amazing. And I'm like, I need you to help me, sweetie. But what it's done is people want to see the crew behind the picture. They want to see the yacht. They want to see the events of the yacht, what it can do, and the features of the yacht. But what's more important to them is who they're meeting. And that's
Mm.
where the crew are starting to get more and more. I don't want to say the word kind of famous or notoriety, but they're getting more important that the crew have a public image. And does the public image align with the brand? So on a Motor Yacht Unbridled, all crew are brand ambassadors to Motor Yacht Unbridled. We all need to understand what that means. We all understand it means look after the environment, be aware of mental health, how we help each other, and also support the Yacht Unbridled as a luxury brand. So that's kind of where the push for digital marketing has gone from a charter yacht perspective.
Uh, you touched upon marine conservation, and when you say super yachts, the first thing that you think of is the luxury lifestyle. And then immediately after that, it's the bad PR that is associated with it in terms of fuel efficiency and carbon footprint and all of that. So, how important do you think sustainability is in today's yacht charter clients? And what measures has Unbridled taken to align with this growing concern?
Once again, I must appreciate the questions you're asking. They're very high quality questions and very well narrated. You know what I mean? First, in terms of global footprint, it's measured by carbon offset. Traditionally, that's the accepted terminology we're using for global footprint. So what we do when we have a charter, we determine the itinerary of the charter, and then we calculate exactly based on the engines and the fuel consumption, the carbon offset. And then that comes at a cost. Does the owner incur the cost? does the client incur the cost? That's generally where we talk about what we're doing, is from a quantifiable perspective, we use carbon footprint, we use our carbon footprint that we talked about, and we calculate the carbon offset, and then we fiscally balance it, because there's no really other way to quantify it without using those type of calculations. You can't imagine that it doesn't exist. We are burning diesel, which is the biggest consumer in terms of from a carbon footprint perspective that yachts have. We don't have a lot of crew on board. We don't have a lot of people in comparison to cruise ships. So we're not doing a huge amount of impact to a local community. We do have rubbish, and that is what Unbridled really focuses on. So the two arms that I'm kind of answering your question is really push carbon offset. I know it sounds kind of silly to say we're paying money. We're paying money to justify what we're doing, but that money helps. That money really has a value to it. And the more money that can go towards sustainable efforts, the better for everyone. So carbon offset is a huge part of our program. We calculate it. We also calculate it on every passage. The biggest thing I can do as a captain with my bridge team is to minimize how much speed we use. So if the less RPMs, the less speed we use to get from A to B, and we calculate the most efficient speed based on fuel curve, that's the best thing we can do, and make sure our equipment is maintained to the best standards and we're using good fuel sources and additives. So that's from a fuel carbon offset perspective. From an environmental conservation perspective, the onboard management of waste or the recycling of waste is really something that's embarrassing to see in the industry. Because all you see when I go to marinas is one black bag coming off the boat every couple of hours. And that black bag goes into a bin of any color and it goes to the local landfill. And that's what yachts do. And it's wrong. We just arrived in Panama, and it was the only marina I saw on the Caribbean Sea that offered us 5 types of recycling bins. And on board Unbridled, we have 5 recycling bins: the glass, the plastics, the aluminums, the cardboards, and the organic wastes. So it was a match. That marina and it was like, this is heaven. We're in love with each other. This is perfect. But a lot of other marinas don't offer that. So therefore, we need to store the plastic and the aluminum. And that's where the industry is really pushing innovation to install glass crushers on board, can crushers. So you start to build a little recycling network on board yourself, that when you don't have the ability to go ashore, then we can use it. For example, we're going to Alaska this summer. One of the biggest challenges for the chief officer is to work out how we're going to manage this rubbish, getting it from the yacht to the local recycling facility. And that's on us. We can't put it to the marina. We have to say, you do all you can, but we've got to do more. So that's where we have to get a truck once a week or a car. We take it ourselves to the local recycling facility. We sort it ourselves. And that takes work. It takes a challenge, but it's something I'm quite proud of. And I'm proud of my crew, and I encourage it with the crew, because it all goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
And we have this kind of theory on board that we can always do more. We can always do more. And if you have people that you employ and you work with the same ethos, it does become a little bit easier for me from a management perspective. So does that answer your question in terms of carbon offset?
Yeah.
I kind of talked on a little bit, but as you can see, that's kind of what I'm passionate about. It's the tools are there, people. You just have to be passionate enough to use the tools and care.
Yeah.
Our next question is regarding the consumers, the guests that are coming in. So if you think about millennials and Henrys and ultra high net worth individuals, do you see a pattern or something like that in the market preferences regarding people that pick long-standing traditional companies over new ventures? And which ones do you think have been most successful in the recent years, and why?
That question's probably above my skill set and knowledge because it's such a beautiful question. And that's more directed to a marketing manager of a brokerage firm like Northrop and Johnson. You know, we work with Northrop and Johnson, and they do more research on market trends from the high net worth individuals and where it falls in. But I think data will show you that brands are everything. I mean, people have alliance with, Nike or whatever your favorite brands are. So the yachting sector is made up of, let's say, 10 brokerage houses, and they're powerful companies. They get high commissions and they kind of run the industry from a client perspective. Same as when you're going shopping for a bag, you choose a Louis Vuitton, the Gucci, or pick your favorite. So these brokerage houses of Northrop and Johnson, which is the one I'm working with, Edmonston, Burgess, all these companies spend a lot of money to try and specifically figure out how to cater to their client. So for me as a humble captain in my position, I rely on them to do their research to get to the end user. My job's to create, a safe, comfortable workplace for the crew and to cater to the high-end net worth individuals once they come on board, if that kind of makes sense. So it's not that I'm not really, it's not that I'm not aware, it's just that people have a much better ability to answer that question from a technical perspective than I would. But I do know they focus on these high net worth individuals and what they're looking for in terms of trends. But they're loyal. These clients are loyal. The owners of the boats are very loyal. When they come to a brokerage firm, they're looked after. And it's like, do you pick Nike or Adidas? It depends on kind of what you fall under. What everyone has a choice. There's no real brand called no brand. Everyone has a brand. So it's how you find that company. Do you stay loyal to that company? What is that company offering you? So to answer the question, I'd say it comes down to those bridge brokerage firms and how the high net worth individual aligns with that company's ethos, or the company policies. Sorry, not my expertise. I feel terrible.
So while we were drafting these questions, the pandemic was something that affected the luxury industry itself. But as we kept talking to industry experts, we came to understand at least that did not affect much of the yacht industry. So, according to you, what are the key challenges currently facing the yachting industry, especially considering socioeconomic factors like war conflicts and the pandemic aftershocks, if there are any adverse effects, and which would affect the consumer behaviors, in your opinion?
Yeah, it's quite a sustainable or strong industry. I don't know how it survived COVID. I mean, I thought cruise ships were done. I thought yachts were done. I was about to try and get a job being a simple fisherman in Mexico or something. I don't know where I'd end up. But believe it or not, it really does. It shows its strength, and it shows that a lot of owners, a lot of the world really respects kind of that ocean exploration. And I'm reading a book called Yacht Minds Matter, and it's kind of Blue Mind is the title of it, and it talks about that as well. But it shows how, because we're 75% water, we have a natural attraction to water. And what's the psychology related with our environment, our want to be by the ocean, our relaxation when we come down to a river. So that's why I think why it survived. What do I think are some emerging trends that can contain the sustainability? I really think an awareness that the big cruise ships are getting smaller and the small memberships are getting bigger is really threatening the yachting community, because we keep thinking we're in this world by ourselves. But these cruise ships like Ritz-Carlton and Four Seasons, they're getting smaller and smaller. And with that comes efficiency. These are huge companies that have a very seamless guest experience. And then smaller organizations like yacht clubs, where they have 3 or 4 different yachts, are getting bigger and bigger. So the yachts are 100 foot, 200 foot now. So that people are having more access to this boat. It's like the taxis versus the Ubers almost. It's like people are getting more and more access quicker and quicker. And that's the challenge of what we have to. We have to change our mindset from a yachting industry where we do 12 to 20 charters a year to do 40, 45 weeks of charter a year. And with that comes its own very unique challenges in terms of manning and so forth.
So, in our other conversations with the other experts we've interviewed, they also mentioned about with this exploration trend we see, there are more emerging hotspots coming up. People are looking towards Asia, Vietnam, places like that. Dubai is another emerging region where people really want to explore now. So, in your opinion, where do you see the next major emerging market? And in your opinion, what factors do you think make it promising?
I'd say the next major emerging one is Alaska, believe it or not. And, from it sounds quite, normal. Everyone hears of Alaska. Everyone hears of Alaska, the last frontier. It really is quite difficult to access all parts of Alaska. There's no public transport per se. There's no roads that can get you from A to B. There's only fly into Juneau, get on a yacht or something that floats and take you to the areas. And that's where you don't see many yachts up there. The owner has a wonderful company. He's got 3 yachts. One of the yachts has been up there, Serengeti, with Captain Zach for the last 5 years. And he's been in Alaska for the last 18 years, the owner of Motor Yacht Unbridled. So he's familiar with it. He's seen the trends. So many brokers are looking for platforms to go to Alaska. And that's what Unbridled's doing this season because the East Coast is kind of saturated, the Caribbean and Bahamas and Mediterranean. There's only so many anchorages you can do in even Sardinia or Corsica. So it's important that when you ask for emerging trends, Alaska, the northeast of Canada, Nova Scotia, Newfoundland, Iceland, Greenland has opened an international airport, which is huge for the Northwest Passage and the Arctic region. So if I wanted to say a specific area, I would say the more Arctic regions, which sounds strange because it's the colder areas, but people are looking for that serenity and that wellness. And they're the two trends I'm seeing is that serenity and the wellness, whereas people want to come on board, they don't want the party scenes anymore. They want to come on board with their family and be treated with love and respect and kindness. They want to understand that there's different things they can do on board, like yoga or Reiki or massages or different treatments they can do on board that look after their bodies from a health perspective. So that's kind of the biggest emerging trend. But in terms of location, I'd say Alaska because everyone thinks Inside Passage, Juneau. For me, the Aleutian Chain, where they did the movie, the below the Bering Sea, the fishermen up there, the Alaskan fishermen,
Yeah.
Deadliest Catch, that area of the Bering Sea from a place called Kodiak down southwest towards Japan, that is to me some of the wildest places in the world. Island after island offers really unique experiences. So Solomon Islands, Cocos Islands and Galapagos, of course, which they're hard to get to, access to, and Alaska.
Uh, those are all the questions that we had prepared for you, but would you be able to recount a memorable experience or like something unforgettable in all your decades of experience as a yachting captain?
Having a wonderful conversation with two lovely people like yourself. It's been very memorable. I do enjoy my life a lot, but I also reflect on the importance of accepting, the situation you're in now, whether it's good or bad. So I really do humbly appreciate your time. I know it took a little while to get us together lined up, but I'm really happy we did make the time for it. So I'm very appreciative of that. There's a lot. I mean, I think traveling with my wife in different countries of the world on board yachts is a real special thing. We work together and we've done Colombia and Panama together, and my wife speaks Spanish. So in different locations I go to with Spanish speaking challenges, that's probably one of my highlights. I've got to say, it's not a one-off thing. It's something that when my wife comes on board and we go to these countries and to see her and I work together, that's probably one of my highlights. But the last one is to answer that in another aspect. What's the
Mhm.
biggest challenge I have? Or maybe
Okay.
I'll ask you a question. What's the biggest challenge you have individually? Trying to look for research or get access to people.
That has been like it's been ongoing for a while. So we reach out to people and then they take a couple of weeks to respond, and then like we have to figure out our schedule because this is also the last month of our academics.
Yeah.
So it's that
It's close.
mostly.
But it is a challenge. Did we make it though? Did we make it?
Yep.
Yeah.
But everyone's been so helpful. We thought it would be like standoffish, but everyone that we've contacted at least have been super helpful and setting aside time for us. So that's
Wonderful.
yeah.
Well, I thought you were going to ask questions about clothes and all that fashion stuff. And I was just like, I don't know how to do this. I kept reading the questions. I'm like, I can answer this. These are good questions, you know. And yourself, what about yourself? Was there a challenge that you've had lately?
No, just the same actually. We were pretty stressed about this, whether we would get people to interview or anyone would be willing to talk to us or what. But it's worked out well, and yeah, like she said, everyone's been very helpful. They've given us more than we asked for, and yeah, we're
Well,
grateful.
it's the old ask and you shall receive, you know?
Yeah.
Ask and you shall receive. Don't be hesitant. For us in yachting, the biggest challenge on a note to end it is for these high net worth individuals, they're looking for one thing, and it's so hard to get it. It's almost impossible. And every trip, it only happens for like maybe 1 to 5 minutes, not even every day. And what they're looking for is that Zen, that absolute peace. And all we do in yachts is they spend all this money and we spend all this time and we try to get them to that point. And it gives me goosebumps because it's something that I'm quite passionate about. Above all the things we talked about, is to get a client to a moment of absolute balance where they've got everything they want. They've got the food, the air smells good, the music's good, the kids are laughing, everyone's happy. To get that zen, it's the hardest thing in my job. It's the hardest thing, and it takes all my mental strength and all my physical strength. And it only happens for 1 to 5 minutes, maybe a trip, maybe a day, where they're sitting relaxing and and you see them, they're looking around, they give you this smile, and you're like, yes, I got it. I got it. And then you got to try it again, another way to get it, another way to get it. So that's the yachting industry. In a nutshell, that's what we go for. And it's very hard to get. And that's where it puts a strain on the people higher up in terms of captains and managements and brokers, is because if you imagine, how do you create that for a high net worth individual? There's no recipe. It's a real combination of teamwork, location, equipment to try and get that little bit of buzz. And when you get it, it's the best thing in the world. When they give you that look and the smile and the wife's happy and the children are happy and you're like, oh, just wish we could stay in this world, you know? But we get it. We get it. And I'm very proud of the crew and the brokerage team and Northrop and Johnson and the owner for me.
One of our requirements actually is to define luxury in the context of the industry that we've chosen. And I feel like you've just summarized what it is for the yachting industry. So thank you for that.
No problem. It's that Zen moment. And Zen means different things to different people. I don't know what other words you could use for it. I mean, what other words could we use for that balance?
Yeah.
Just
Isn't it?
yeah.
But that's not really a Western word per se. Like calm. I don't know, but it's something they find. It's something that we try and create, and that's luxury. That when you put on that bag, that Louis Vuitton, and you feel good, and when you've done, your hair looks good, and everyone has it in their different ways. But these high net worth individuals, all of a sudden, they don't care about anything materialistic. So to find it, it's more of they don't really care about spirituality a lot. So it's more of combining all facets of life to get that ultimate experience, So I love it. That's what drives me most,
That's all from
Come on,
us.
sweetie.
Thank you
Come
so
on.
much for your time.
Oh, so cute.
There's my little. She didn't want. She tried really quietly to survive the whole time. All right, ladies. Is there anything else?
No, that's all.
it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Thank
All right, well,
you.
thank you very much for the time. Anything you need, let me know. Any further questions, just reach out.
Sure. And we'll keep you updated on how our research is
Yes.
going and once the deck is all done.
Oh, looking forward to it. And I'll send you the video as well, okay?
Yes.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
All right, take care. Be blessed.
Our upcoming itinerary is super exciting. We've just finished a few trips in the Caribbean. Then we're moving over to Costa Rica for a really adventurous trip there, up in the mountains, a lot of diving. And then we sail around to Alaska, where it's a little bit colder, but we are very excited to explore a new part of the world. Not many boats go there, so it is a fantastic opportunity to get on board and explore with us.